Now, to be fair to him, Pep Guardiola, I watched Jake and the boys last night in the Bernabeu. Pep didn't hang about, didn't waste any time. He came on very promptly and spoke about what we'd all just seen. When Manchester City looked to have 1 foot in the final against Liverpool, it was taken away by Real Madrid, and this boy, in the person of this lad, Rodrigo, who was incredible. This was Pep, quite pragmatic, post-match.
We need time now, 1 or 2 days, but we'll rise, we'll come up, we'll have to do it with our people. So the players gave everything, we were so close, really, really close, but at the end we could not do it. A long history in football and all sports, this kind of situation happen. Is that the feeling that, right at the end with 10 minutes or 15 minutes left, you are absolutely dominated with a lot of problems with the opponent can create it to you. It didn't happen. And they found it. And after 1 minute later, the other one, and when their people support them, so it's a little bit more difficult. And after the penalty, that I didn't watch it make the difference.
He sounds pretty much out on his feet, and you can't blame him for that after what we just witnessed. But Simon, I suppose the question is, why can't Manchester City seemingly go over the line in this competition?
I mean, look, their outcome yesterday, they had 4 opportunities. They were 2-0 up, 3-1 up, 4-2 up, and 1-0 up. And their inability to close the game out, you have to look at the players on the pitch, and you have to look. This is a big football club that will probably win the Premier League this year and will have won 4 out of 5 Premier Leagues in the last 5 years, which is an incredible feat. Madrid, you've got to give credit to Madrid in this game. You've got to look at the reality of where Man City are, and it is almost unfathomable. They are probably the best team in Europe. So it's unfathomable why they keep finding themselves in a situation where they cannot win this tournament. They lost it last year because of tactical errors and a misjudgment of how to play against Chelsea. They've lost previous games with a little bit of misfortune. This loss to Real Madrid is probably the worst of the lot because they've had it in their hands 4 times during a series of 180 or 190 minutes. And each time, seemingly, game management or ability to be able to overcome the obstacle has evaded them. And that has to be the coach's thinking. It's one thing sticking to your principles. It's one thing saying that we won't compromise because we don't believe in compromise and we will always overcome obstacles by continuing to believe in a philosophy. There is another thing having that extra 1% of nous, because there's no way, with due respect to Real Madrid, that besides their livery and their history and their 17 times in the Champions League final, that on a pound-for-pound basis, to use a boxing analogy, that they should have beaten Man City in these 2 games. Man City have got to look at themselves. Unfortunately, what this brings is probably an absolute slew of more cash being poured into football by the ownership model of Man City, because last year when they lost the final, we had this defiant outburst from their incumbent chairman or vice chairman or whatever he is.
That won't be unique to them. Real Madrid would probably do the same. They'll probably go all out from Mbappe after all of this.
Perhaps, but isn't Mbappe free out of contract at the end of this season? So maybe they won't be. But the bottom line is that we will see probably another £200 million being spent on football. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed for Man City. I'm not a lover of their awful regime that owns the football club, but I am a lover of their football team in terms of the way that they play. So whilst I can sit here and bask in the glory of Trevor getting it wrong yet again, the bottom line is that we didn't get a final of arguably the 2 best teams in Europe right now, which is Man City and Liverpool, because Real Madrid's absolute obstinate defiance of overcoming PSG, Chelsea and Man City is something to behold.
Oh, yes.
It's something to behold.
Their list of casualties that they've inflicted themselves upon is impressive. Are they slowly morphing into England's PSG, Manchester City?
Well, they are.
Because you wonder if they'll ever do it. Yeah.
Oh, they'll do it. Of course they'll do it. If you throw
what
enough,
makes you say that, though, Simon?
If you throw enough stuff against the wall, some of it eventually sticks. Right? They will eventually achieve this outcome. Whether this inspires Pep Guardiola or demoralises him, I don't know, and I don't particularly care. He's been given an opportunity. He's paid a king's ransom to deliver an outcome. He's yet to do it, so he needs to be held accountable to it. But we also need to, before we have this pile on Man City, we also need to remember what they have achieved. And it is not a given. It took Liverpool 30 years to win the Premier League, and they have won cup competitions. So you have to give credit where credit's due. I am very surprised because I can laud and applaud my own sentiment of wanting Man City to get knocked out yesterday and laughing with Trevor. But I didn't think they'd get knocked out. Nobody thought they'd get knocked out. All of us that can turn around and go, actually, Trevor, get your blue tinted glasses off, actually sat there with the same blue tinted glasses on, saying that Man City were going to overcome Real Madrid. And it's incredible that they didn't.
Well,
it's incredible that they didn't.
Last week, not that I'm saying, look at me, did I not get it right?
You said they would come.
But I said 4-3.
So jeopardy.
There's jeopardy in that scoreline.
Right.
And they're walking into something that they might not get out of.
But the jeopardy is you've got to turn around and say to yourself, you were 2-0 up in the first leg, then 3-1, then 4-2. Each time you let Real Madrid back in the game, you're 1-0 up. The job is done, and you concede 3 goals in 5 minutes. Now, these are the creme de la creme players. We cannot talk about lack of experience in Europe. We cannot talk about the naivety of certain decision-making process. This is argued to be the best coach in world football, with the best group of players that are systematically dominating our domestic league. What is it in their makeup that enables them to let teams back in the game at business end of games and to allow, to some extent, Real Madrid to take 3 goals out of them in 5 minutes? That's about a reaction. That's about resilience. That's about closing the game down. The job is done at 1-1.
And they can't do it.
And they seemingly
can't do it.
And I think it's to do with this absolute outlook that we won't compromise. We won't change. We won't manage the game. We will not change. We will play the way we play, and we will live and die by it.
Yeah.
So 6 years into his tenure at Man City, he was brought in to dominate English football, which, by the way, he is doing, but also to add the Champions League. So when we talked yesterday about the two things, elite football teams and elite football clubs.
Yeah.
Elite football clubs win Champions Leagues.
Simon.
Elite football teams produce brilliant football like Man City.
Guardiola was brought in to win the Champions League.
He was.
Because they were winning the Champions League before, they were winning the Premier League before him. So that was a given.
But don't you think
City
as well,
knew how to win the Premier League and did it. Never
Not
more
like
so
this,
that
not like this.
incredible
Not-
day
not-
with
not like
Aguero.
this.
But he was brought in to break the hoodoo and win the big one.
Granted.
And the big one is the one that Real Madrid will play for against Liverpool.
Granted, but I also think that the Champions League, as it is right now, in the format that it is, consisting of majority of people that aren't in it aren't actually champions, and group stages and the monetization of it is flash for cash. It is the ultimate. It's the 100,000 sprinkles on top of the ice cream sundae.
That sounds like excuses for City.
I'm not making. Listen, I'm the last person to make excuses for Man City, but I'm also the last person to look at the reality of saying, oh, look, Man City have been kicked out, so we can all laugh at them because we don't like certain aspects of the way they built their football club. I will maintain that view forever and a day.
No one's laughing, but people are scratching their heads thinking, how on earth did that happen?
Of course, people. I've watched the Twitter feeds. I've watched the reaction to Trevor's faith in Man City and to people's reaction to Man City, and people take it upon themselves to look to Man City to not.
Well, you've done your fair bit to keep that going.
No, I haven't. I've talked about the beauty of their football team and my discontent with their ownership model and everything that it brings, and my discontent with the PSG ownership model, and my discontent with the Roman Abramovich oligarch model, and my discontent with the Newcastle model, because I think it's fundamentally wrong for football. But as far as their football team is concerned, how can you argue this team, unless they fall apart, which I do not believe they will win the Premier League, and they will win 4 Premier Leagues out of 5. We should be equally as concerned about what's happening in our domestic league, that this team keeps on winning the Premier League.
This is all about the Champions League, and they went out. When they had 1 foot in the final last night, they went out.
They did.
And that, more than anything, Premier League's a Premier League. The one they wanted was the one they can't now get this season.
That's the narrative that we advance. We don't know it's the one they want.
Undoubtedly, that's the right narrative.
It's the one they haven't got.
Of course it is.
And it's the one that they should have. And it's the one that ultimately to shut down the narrative
with
that
all
we
their
advance.
gazillions, with Guardiola,
the
best in the business,
but they also,
and they can't get their hands on it.
Comparing them to PSG,
they can't get it.
Comparing them to PSG would not win our Premier League. They will win Ligue 1 because that's the league they play in. It's a piddly-pop league, right? And they wouldn't win our Premier League.
Yeah, but
Man
they're doing
City
exactly what City are doing. PSG are breezing it in their own league.
And you're right, they are. But
they can't conquer Europe.
Would you compare the strength of Ligue 1 to the Premier League? So the feat that Man City are achieving in the Premier League is far greater than the feat that
PSG equals Manchester City. Can win their own title, can't win the big one.
Yeah, and also the model, which is an unfettered amount of cash. Yeah. From a certain set of regimes that have a different dynamic.
So there's an uncanny similarity between PSG and Manchester City.
No, I think Manchester City...
For all their millions.
I think Manchester City are infinitely a better football club than PSG. Infinitely a better football club. But I do think...
Better run or better managed or better?
Better football team, playing in a better league, with a better manager, with better heritage, with better ideals about owning football clubs around the world for a
Yeah.
variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But you are right. Of course, if you want to make the ultimate comparison, neither one of them. And do you know what? We should celebrate that to some extent. We should celebrate that, irrespective of how much money you've got, you can't buy this the
big prize.
The big prize is winning your domestic leagues. The flash
The
for
big
cash
prize is the one that Real Madrid will play for with Liverpool.
Well, if Real
That's
Madrid,
the big one.
If Real Madrid were winning the Champions League and not
tell
winning
you-
La Liga, they'd be uncomfortable in Spain as well.
You talk about Real Madrid. This puts everything.
And they won't, by the way.
This
Liverpool
puts
will beat them.
everything into perspective. This is where Real Madrid are a standout club. Last night they get into the final. This will be a 17th final.
Yep.
As they chase down their 14th European Cup. Manchester City would love to be Real Madrid much further down the line. So why can't Manchester City get over the line in this competition? It's a simple question. Give us an answer. 03717 223344 81089.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.